Very worried about the Giants. I really am. I'm worried about the Daniel Jones thing, and I know that's nothing new to people who were watching. And I've got some like smaller takeaways from that game that are more positive for the Giants. Like I thought Wan'Dale Robinson looked awesome. Right now that he's fully healthy, he looks like he's got some new juice into that offense, something we've been asking for a while. It feels like they've been rotating a lot of different receivers. I think Wan'Dale could be really nice. That Kayvon Thibodeau had a really nice night as well, a couple of splash plays, but it felt like he was playing very explosive. So it's not like it was totally terrible for the Giants, but the biggest thing for them is the offense, and it's the Daniel Jones part, right? We went back and forth over the last, it's been much longer than this offseason. It feels like the last couple of years. Do you pay Daniel Jones? Is he the type of franchise quarterback that you would invest in? And I'm not going to lie, man, this preseason lied about a lot of things. We know that now, but It really did lie about the New York Giants because that offense looked nice in the limited amount of time that we saw the starters work in New York. Looked like Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones and Mike Kafka were just like on the same page, and that offense was really cooking when they were playing in the preseason. It couldn't be different right now. I mean, Jones the offense is not nearly explosive enough. And if you want to say, hey, the offensive line's not as good as it needs to be, hey, they don't really have the pass catchers that they need to for that to be the case, okay, you might have a point, but there's got to be a time where your quarterback kind of takes over a little bit for you. And it just feels like certainly a quarter of the way through the season, Daniel Jones has not been able to do that. It does not feel like they have that downfield threat, that full open offense to be able to really stretch the field. It's either smaller stuff, first read stuff, okay, this play went exactly according to plan, or it goes catastrophically terribly, whether it's a sack or just some kind of a scramble and completion or a turnover or whatever it is. So, man, Sam, it just looks really ugly for the Giants right now. And this was a team that obviously played very, very well last year. I think they impressed a lot of people. Brian Daboll wins Coach of the Year. They look great in the preseason. And it feels like everything is going wrong for them in that quarterback position this year.
Yeah, and the thing is, that game could have been worse. I mean, early on, you had a few plays that kind of bounced the Giants' way, and if they'd gone the other way, like they could have been in a much deeper hole much earlier on, and the whole thing spiraled out of control. Kenneth Walker had that weird play where he looked like he actually surfed on the body and then got up and thought about running it in for a touchdown.
He was almost still up.
I honestly, you could convince me that he was, right? I understand his ass cheek grazed or got very close to the turf, but I could be convinced that he never actually hit the ground there. He got up, kind of thought about going to score, and then had to be like urged on by the official. Like, no, right. There's no whistle. Keep going. Restarted, scored, and then no, actually, it's he's down. But they also, their punt returner had one of the worst attempts of fielding a punt I've ever seen in my life. Just like dived at it and didn't even touch it. And then they recovered that ball. If those couple of plays bounce the other way, like the Giants are in a huge hole to start this game and digging and making it even worse. It was bad.
Just kind of like, I don't know, man. It felt like it feels like a waterfall for this team, and not in the best way. Maybe I should say like an avalanche, a snowball, but like in the negative effect. It's a snowball that's getting bigger, that's about to destroy a town. Like that's probably the analogy that I need to be going for here. But Daboll, clearly we saw it last night, very frustrated on the sideline with Daniel Jones' performance, and it doesn't feel like he's seeing the game very well. Haven't looked at the all-22 from this game, so I'm not going to try to like bring anything out about deeper coverages and what he might be seeing, but it felt like they had nothing deep. Devon Witherspoon says after the game, this is a rookie corner, mind you. He's like, look, we went through the film. We knew that Daniel Jones is not going to get off of his first read. If we shut down the first read, he's going to panic and he's not going to be able to really take advantage of stuff, especially deep, right? When plays break down, we talk about time to throw and these quarterbacks that can extend plays. They're always so deadly. Why is that? Because it's really, really hard to cover receivers once you get beyond 3-4 seconds of a play. I mean, when you're into like 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, and the quarterback still has the ball, these DBs, they're losing wide receivers, and it's natural that you would do that because the whole field is supposed to become available. That's where you really start to see these chunk plays when the quarterbacks are able to keep their eyes downfield and complete those passes. It felt like none of that was really happening for the Giants, and it felt like it has not happened the whole time. So Jones, who correctly gets identified as a quarterback who has good athleticism to him, People talk about like the escapability factor and being able to extend the plays. Well, if you can't keep your eyes downfield and if you can't start really making defenses pay once you are able to get away from bad pockets, you're not playing well outside of structure. Like, I don't care how fast you are. I don't care how quickly you can get to the sideline or avoid a sack. If nothing comes of it, nothing comes of it. And to me, that's a big area of, man, it feels like Daniel Jones is still escaping despite a lot of the sacks they took last night. But they're not making defenses pay. If it's not on structure, it feels like Jones just does not have it this year. And people can point to years past where they go, well, he hasn't had it ever. I don't know about ever. But this year, that part of his game, to me, does not look good. It is either exactly how it was supposed to be scripted, or he's off the rails and he's giving you a negative play.
I think this is the flip side to the success that they enjoyed last year when, everyone was kind of crediting Brian Daboll and saying, look what this guy's able to do with a guy like Daniel Jones. And I think that's true, but things need to be functional for that to work, right? Like the offense needs to be okay, the pass protection needs to be solid, and then you can kind of dial up number one being open. We talked a bit on Monday about, how that dynamic works with PFF Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud, or in San Francisco with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. Like, if things are okay, if things are going fine, a head coach can dial up an awful lot for a quarterback to just take advantage of what's there. But if it starts to break down, that's when you need the quarterback to do more of the heavy lifting and make up that difference. And right now, you're right, Daniel Jones can't. And actually, arguably his biggest weakness as a quarterback is this like lack of awareness when things are breaking down. Mm-hmm. It's cruel to compare anybody to Patrick Mahomes because the dude is like unfair, but that is the standard. Like it or not, that's where the bar is now. When you think of Patrick Mahomes scrambling or getting out of the pocket, there's always a guy like chasing him a yard behind him, and he never gets to him. Almost never gets to him. Mahomes' awareness.
He never gets caught from behind, it feels like. You are right.
And his awareness of where that guy is like otherworldly. He is always 100% aware that there's a guy and exactly where he is. And one of the reasons they never catch him is because he doesn't run in a straight line. He runs in like a circle, knowing that you're going to have to like follow him rather than actually cut him off and chase him down. Whereas Daniel Jones, when he breaks away from the pocket or from the pressure, it's like he has blinkers on. He has no awareness of what's around him. And somebody tweeted last night that like it feels like every Daniel Jones sack is a strip sack, is a forced fumble. Like he just doesn't feel the guy attacking him from a different angle, and the ball comes out, and then it's a forced fumble on top of the the broken play and disastrous. It's like, if he had just a little bit of that Mahomes awareness, it wouldn't be as bad as it is. But he doesn't. That's one of his biggest problems.
And that's why that was kind of a big takeaway of what I brought up. We think of Jones and we think of an athletic quarterback. And when you think of these athlete quarterbacks, like, I know we're going to get into mock draft and some draft talk as we do on Tuesdays, but there are a lot of people who will watch these, I'll even say like either somewhat athletic quarterback. Like, you don't have to be a Lamar Jackson type of quarterback to get this type of out of structure, positive note in your scouting report. If you are elusive at all whatsoever, people will talk about you as a quarterback, as a prospect, and they'll say like, oh, but look what he could do out of structure. Just because he can wiggle a little bit and get out of pressure and outrun some sacks. Just because you're athletic doesn't mean you're great out of structure. Yeah, out of structure is, to me, even more mental than it is physical, because you still have to be able to escape pressure as it is coming from your back, like you mentioned with what Mahomes does and things like that. But the speed at which you have to process new information is so much faster out of structure. And that's why it is a highly valuable trait. So just because a player can move well does not mean he is an out of structure quarterback. These are two different things. Now, you want to be more athletic, but to me, I think that that's the part of Daniel Jones that feels the most different between how he is viewed, and I would say how he is viewed on the most positive side of things, the people who believe in him and what he could do in his talent level. That's the difference between the people who are most optimistic about Daniel Jones and where he actually is he does have that ability, but he doesn't turn it into the production that you would think that he would. And that's a problem first year into a second contract coming off the year that the Giants did, because it's been real disappointing to this point. And their schedule, I don't have it right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it sucks. Like, I'm pretty sure their schedule is rough. So the fact that they are 1-3 already this year, it could spell out some serious danger for them.